Meet the candidates.
I'm Senator Larry Pressler, candidate for the United States Senate as an independent, and I'm trying to end the poisonous relationships between Republicans and Democrats.
I'm Mike Rounds. I live in Fort Pierce, South Dakota, and I'm running for the United States Senate, having served 2 terms as governor of South Dakota.
Hello, my name is Rick Weiland. I'm running for the United States Senate. I was born and raised in Madison, South Dakota. Graduated from USD with a communications degree and a political science degree, and I've spent 15 years of my life in both the public sector and the private sector. My wife and I currently own a business here in Sioux Falls called Parker's Bistro. It's a restaurant located on Main Street.
Question 1. How would you protect Social Security for today's seniors and strengthen it for future generations?
Well, I would protect Social Security. I've always been strongly for Social Security, contrary to some ads that are running, which are false. I would expand Social Security in the sense that I would have a higher COLA for the Social Security beneficiaries, and I would use a COLA tied to things like food prices, and that would be higher than the COLAs that have been occurred in the last few years. I do not want to balance the budget on the backs of our senior citizens. I've always been a champion of senior citizens and of Social Security.
Social Security is very important for millions of Americans. They've paid into the system. They've worked very hard throughout their lives. Now it's time for the United States government to honor their promise. It reminds me a lot about the state of South Dakota and our South Dakota retirement system. South Dakota citizens are served by employees that have worked very, very hard. Our retirement system, which was put in place in 1974, is one that's been constantly improved. It doesn't mean you don't make changes. It means you make them so that people in the future can enjoy the benefits of what you do today. I served on the Retirement Laws Committee. We continue to work to make sure that the investments that were going in were properly shared, not just with generations in the future, but with people that were currently enjoying the benefits today. Very similar to what Social Security is. I think the way that you work it is you continue to make minor changes. You don't surprise people. If you see problems coming up with trust funds that don't have enough money in them, you start very, very slowly to make changes, but you don't hurt the people that are counting on the dollars today. Long term, what you want is people to have stability with retirement income that they can count on for their entire lives. Future generations deserve the same opportunity. You have to manage it year in and year out, and you have to be honest with the recipients. Minor changes, long-term in nature, are the best way to make changes if there are any problems in the future.
Well, the first thing we need to do is debunk the politics of Social Security, and that some who would propose to want to fix it are in the process of trying to destroy it. I do not support extending the retirement age or rolling back on the benefit. In previous times, I think others have used the solvency of Social Security as an excuse to fundamentally change the program. Frankly, Social Security is solvent, will be solvent for quite some time, and there are a few things we can do to make sure that Social Security will be there for us when we retire, as well as it continues to be a vibrant program for the people who are currently on it. I have come out in favor of scrapping the cap. There are people that after they make $117,000 a year no longer have to pay into Social Security. I think over a period of time we can remove that cap, which will strengthen the program, but it will also allow us to put a few extra dollars in the pockets of current seniors. I'm for that. Some of my opponents have decided that we need to fundamentally alter the program. So I understand the importance of Social Security and what it's meant for thousands of South Dakotans and what it's meant for literally hundreds of millions of our citizens in this country. It has provided some financial security that without that program, they would be living in poverty. So we need to keep it strong. We need to keep it vibrant. I believe we can not only protect it, but we can expand it by removing the cap.
Question 2. How would you put Medicare on stronger financial ground and protect today's seniors and future retirees from rising health costs?
Well, I'm a strong supporter of Medicare. I always have been. I think that we need more controls of the pharmaceutical companies who are charging very high prices, as we saw in 60 Minutes recently, for certain cancer drugs and other drugs where there's no competition. So one thing I would do is I would put more, I would give Medicare and the Affordable Care Act more power to regulate the pharmaceutical companies. And by the way, I support the Affordable Care Act very strongly. I think President Obama has done a good job in that area. I don't agree with Obama in many areas, but I do think we need a national health care system, and I support that. I think it's complementary with Medicare, and I would support keeping both of them strong. And I'm on Medicare myself, so I don't want to lose it.
One of the major expenses for individuals who are over the age of 65 is their health care costs. Medicare has been a promise that's been made. We should always honor our deals. Medicare is one of those deals. I'm concerned because I don't want to see Medicare be shifted back and forth. I'm concerned about a Congressional Budget Office report that was done in 2013 suggesting that between 2013 and 2022 that there would be a shift of up to $716 billion, not necessarily moving out of the Medicare Trust Fund, but being used as an offset for the Affordable Care Act. I'm very concerned about Section 3403 of the Affordable Care Act and the creation of what they call the Independent Payment Advisory Board. This board's sole function is to determine whether or not the budgetary requirements are being met, and then, without congressional approval, making changes in what doctors get paid on a procedure-by-procedure basis. I don't like the idea of a single committee making that decision. I think we have to be very, very careful. We have to honor our commitment that Medicare be strong, solid, and that people can trust that it will be there. I like the idea of having options for the types of coverages. I think seniors should have choices about the benefits that they want to receive, co-pays, deductibles, and so forth. What we don't want to do is to make promises that we can't keep. We want to make Medicare strong long-term for these seniors and for future beneficiaries.
Well, Medicare has been a wonderful program for hundreds of millions of our fellow citizens. It's given health security for people as they've grown old that simply wasn't there prior to 1965. I've suggested that one way we could make Medicare more viable and more solvent is simply open it up to anyone of any age. Not a single payer system, but a process where people could choose between big private insurance, which they only have to choose from right now, and Medicare. And what that would do would be, it would bring a lot of young people into Medicare who would be paying a premium and not really accessing health care. It's the reason the big insurance companies were so eager to get their hands on 50-some million Americans when the Affordable Care Act was being discussed. They were willing to forego denying people health care coverage because of pre-existing conditions. They were willing to take off the lifetime cap, which were real improvements in our current health care system. But it was all to have access to those 50-some million Americans who would pay the premium but not access health care. I think if we open Medicare up to those 50 million some Americans, it's going to strengthen Medicare, make it stronger as a program, plus bring some competition that we currently do not have in our healthcare system.
Question 3. How would you help Americans save so they can secure their future and live independently as they age?
It's very important that citizens be able to live independently. As an independent in the United States Senate, I would be able to work across the party aisles. I think we will have 4 independents in the new Senate. There's a new one, independent senator coming from Kansas probably. There are 2 independents there now. And with myself, that would be the 4th. So we can make some history in South Dakota. But I would use my position, the greater power that an independent will have in this new Senate, to help senior citizens to live independently. I think that in a closely divided Senate, the independents could be the most powerful, and I would not join a caucus unless I were guaranteed certain fundamental roll call votes on senior citizens matters. So I would fight very hard for senior citizens. I was known during my 22 years in Congress as a champion of the elderly, as a champion of programs such as Meals on Wheels and lots of other things that help people live independently. And I would continue to do that. In fact, I've gotten just about every award for supporting Social Security, Medicare, senior citizens, and I would caution the public that there are a lot of totally false ads, and I have a very low budget campaign. I don't have enough money to answer them, but they are 180 degrees false and lies that I have voted against Social Security or Medicare or anything of that sort. I have not, and I am a champion of those programs, and I will continue to be so. And I can be a more powerful voice both for South Dakota and senior citizens as an independent U.S. Senator.
One of the concerns that I think young people should have today is whether or not they're going to have enough money to make it all the way until the end of their natural life. Social Security can provide part of that, but they have to start looking now, because Social Security was never intended to be their only source of income long term. So while we want a strong Social Security program, we also want to make sure certain that young people have an opportunity to save. It's really tough to save if you're living from week to week, paycheck to paycheck. I think one way that you handle that is you make darn sure that there's enough jobs out there so that they have a job all the time that they want a job. Second of all, that those jobs pay enough so that you have enough to not only make ends meet, but that you can put away some savings as well. And finally, because our tax structure in the United States is such that we've got one of the highest in the world, we've got to be able to defer the taxes on some of the things that we save. If you defer the taxes, such as in 401ks and so forth, people will put aside money and they will save the money, and long term that benefit really adds up over a period of 15, 20, and 30 years. The other thing we've got to do is we've got to make darn sure that the expenses for young people don't go up faster than what their incomes do. I am worried about what's going to happen with our utility costs. The United States Chamber of Commerce says that, well, your utility bills for the average American family is going to go up by over $140 a month based upon the new EPA rulings. That's not good. We've got to make energy less expensive so we have more money to save long term.
Part of being secure in your old age is making sure that the commitment your country's made to you when it comes to Social Security and Medicare are going to be there when you approach that retirement age. This is a struggle in today's political environment with proposed budgets that would essentially cut taxes for the wealthiest of the wealthy. The Ryan budget simply would take tax cuts to the tune of almost $6 trillion over 10 years, and it would pay for it by going after programs like Medicare and Medicaid. Ultimately, I think they'd end up going after Social Security, but cutting Pell Grants, cutting Head Start, programs that invest in the future and keep the middle class safe. I really do believe that financial security starts with a good education, an opportunity to find a great paying job that perhaps offers a benefit like a 401k, so that it's not only Social Security that you're relying on and paying into with this job that you obtain with a good education, but it's also the fact that you might have an additional supplemental part of the income, including a 401k, which could then support what you're getting from Social Security. The other piece, though, it's very, very important, is to make sure that you have health security. So I think part of that overall financial security is really a three-prong approach: Social Security, Medicare, and a good education with a job that gives you potentially access to a 401k.